started. All right, give me just a second here to get the word out. Whew, what a busy, busy day. All right, we are going to post you up here. And we are going to spout you off. Maybe. This the touch and go. There we go. Sorry about that, y'all. It's a little bit slow, but we got the word out. We're going to get this fired up. Welcome to the Bonnet Chronicles. I am your host, Kalari GXC. And there's a lot to talk about today, but I wanted to open up before I start ranting tonight about something serious. You know that mental health is a personal topic for me. It is something dear to me because, like millions of other people in our country, I suffer from serious mental health issues, and it is something that I want to put a human face on. And as you also know, the PA race was near and dear to me because a dear friend of mine who passed away last year was pushing really hard for John Fetterman's win. And when we got it, it felt like we were helping her posthumously make sure that her state was properly represented. And I'm going to not mince words. I wasn't a huge fan of John Fetterman. I felt that he got a lucky break out of all the candidates that did run for that seat. I was still back in Lamb. I know that there were friends of mine who were back in Kenyatta, but Fetterman was the one who won their primary. So I put every bit I could into helping make sure people knew that it was better to vote for him over Oz. But he definitely was not in even my top picks for the point. I feel like he doesn't take the role seriously sometimes, and I feel like I have to learn to let people grow. And part of that growth is realizing that politicians are humans as well, realizing that mental health is a very strong feature in our brains, and the fact that Senator Fetterman suffered from a stroke and has dealt with depression from that stroke, and instead of giving up, giving in, or making excuses, is getting help. This is what I want to see. I know a lot of people who don't understand mental health won't get this, but to have a sitting senator understand the issue and not run away from it, actually go and get necessary help for his mental health needs, to admit that he even has depression is such a big step, because people love to think that mental health is only a hysterical thing. Only women deal with that. No. And welcome to the chat, Beans. Mental health affects so many of us, and it is not a gender thing. It is not income based. It is not race based. It is how our minds process both trauma and health issues. And when I see somebody stepping up to do the right thing for their mental health, I give them props. I was definitely wrong about John Fetterman in his ability to see when something's wrong and handle it. I hope that I'm still wrong in what I feel about him being a waste of a Senate seat, because I'll eat that crow if I'm wrong about that. I really hope that by taking the initiative for his mental health help, that he's also willing to keep stepping up for PA and doing the right thing for his constituents and beyond. But I really cannot stand the fact that people want to try to ding him on this, try to act like it's weakness. It is not weakness to get help for your problems. It is weakness to try to hide said problems and pretend like, oh, I can't talk about mental health. It's too many men, and it's going to lead into what I'm going to definitely talk about tonight. Internalize this stuff. You don't talk about it. You don't try to get help for it, and it comes out in nastier ways. So when I see a man stepping up and taking just active initiative and doing the right thing for their mental health, I have to give John Fetterman props. So I wish him and his family, and thank you for the resubscribe, honey, 22 months. When I think about how him and his family have to deal with not only the pressures of the campaign trail, then the pressures of being elected, people constantly in your face making judgment calls about you, and having to be reliable to your state and beyond. It is a lot of pressure. Add health issues and mental health issues on top of that. But to have the strength to say, I can do this, I am going to go get the professional help I need so that I can do my job properly. I am definitely proud of the Fetterman family for standing with each other, but John Fetterman for realizing that it is not an issue that you can just sweep under the rug. It's not something that you should just ignore. It is vital that you get help when you're having mental health stress, whether it's anxiety, depression, whether you have something like I have with schizoaffective disorder. It is very vital that we see people in this kind of job, especially who the press seem to hound for everything else, focused on, so that we can shine a light on the human side of mental health issues. Because for real, this is, even if it wasn't near and dear to me because I live with this, I am just so sick and sick of only the negative, only people that want to talk about mental health when it's bad. Case in point, the topic that I'm going to bring up now. And credit to this NBC article for at least expressing what a lot of us are feeling about Senator Fetterman. And I do wish him and his family all the luck in dealing with this. But we really do have to change the topic a bit to what happened in Tate County. I was trying to practice saying the name of the city. I don't want to butcher it. It is a town in Mississippi. And when I seen the headline that the guy was taken in alive, yeah, I wasn't shocked by the demographic. Let's just put it that way. And apparently this 52-year-old crumb bum, and his last name's Crumb, so I'm just going to call him Crumb Bum, decided that 6 lives had to be lost in the wave of gun violence because, of course, it's America, so we have 0 days without gun violence. I don't even know what to say at this point. This is like, I've lost track since January, of how many of these incidents keep cropping up. And it is literal terrorism at this point, yet you won't see these fuckers put on a list. You won't see people pressing them to relinquish these weapons that they have. And yes, according to sites and sources that are coming in about this, yet again, another assault weapon mass shooting, and it's tiring. Civilians should not have their hands on assault rifles. You will never get me to stop talking about this. It is sickening how many lives are lost to this now. How many of these guys that probably need counseling or something to do with themselves because apparently life is just too hard for the easy button mode types. But they're 53 years old. He was probably just a ball of rage in a small town and decided, I'm going to flex my authority the only way I can with violence. And what's troubling me, and welcome to the chat, Respect, is I knew the moment they said he was taken in alive that he couldn't have been somebody black in Mississippi. Mississippi, who's still dealing with their water crisis in Jackson. Mississippi with Tate Reeves, who can make jokes about it. So when I seen that this fucker who took 6 lives was apprehended alive, and that the weapon, from what sources are saying, was assault based, yeah, I knew. And looking at his mugshot, I'm not surprised. It's just sickening. And on top of what I was going to talk about today, it's not surprising. Let me get this fucker's nonsense up. Let me see if that's the one. Nope, that's not it. That's for later. Nope, that one's for later too. Good Lord. Give me just a moment, y'all. I had all this lined up and then I goofed up. Okay. Let me see where that is. There we go. All right. I hate even bringing this guy up, but I know many of you saw the nonsense of the sentencing for that one kid. Let me get his photo up because I'm annoyed with the whole idea of this young man, but it goes without saying that in the realms of fuck around to find out, this idiot, he sure did cash a big check for it. And he's the top shooter, looking all tearful after telling people that he was sorry for murdering 10 lives last year in Buffalo. Going over from his little podunk town into a town where he knew black people had a food desert, stalked them, did reconnaissance, had a whole paper trail about his ideology and beliefs. So I didn't believe a fuck all thing he said in his apology. And I will not apologize for cursing at this point because it's sickening seeing these little tearful faces. And one of the things that I seen when I watched him make that empty, hollow apology that can't bring back the elders and the people that were working at that store, can't shake the trauma that he put upon that community that's already dry for places to go shopping for produce and groceries. He didn't care what he was ripping away from that community. He didn't care about their safety. He didn't view them as humans. And when I asked what was it worth at this point, you ain't going to get your race war, man, because if you did, your side would lose just like you lost before. But on top of that, all you've done is throw away 11 lives at this point. Not just the lives of the people who were put in the ground by your hate, but now your life is completely gone. He is gone to jail. There is absolutely no chance for parole either. And I agree with what the judge said. There is like no room in our society for this level. But we have got to start addressing the issue with this level. And it's sad to me because I was on YouTube earlier and I had to make a rebuttal to a bunch of asinine people. I don't see why I do it. I'm not going to get through to a bigot. I realized that early on in my life. But if I don't speak up, it feels like I'm just allowing them through apathy not to speak up. But I was watching some YouTube Pratt's video earlier, and I like some of his stuff. I'm not going to fake that front. I wouldn't watch it if I didn't find some of the stuff he says amusing. He does like a This Week at Twitter and all that other stuff. But he, like most white people, and I'm assuming his ethnicity, yeah, but he comes across as a white boy, decided that CRT was his boogeyman yet again. And of course, in his comments are the same usual suspects. Oh, you talking about CRT is racist against white people. I don't want to feel guilty for being white, so I went off. And it only took me 14 minutes to clarify how I feel about white people at this point, pushing against being woke, pushing against CRT, pushing against decency, because yous are just as bad to me as this fucker who is going to jail for the rest of his life, because you keep condoning acceptable forms of bigotry and bias. It is frustrating to me how you think teaching about the history of hate, showing people how inherited bias is societally encoded and how you can fight against that, makes you feel bad for being white. It has absolutely nothing to do with your skin tone, except the fact that the majority of your skin tone seems to think you can get away with it. The majority of your skin tone also seems to think being apathetic and just not talking about it will help make it go away. Or worse yet, you having to focus on it makes you feel guilty, and your bad feelings are worse than or on par than the biases that hold us back from decent housing, hold us back from decent schools, allow them to kill us and legalize lynch us in our own countries. Come on, man. I know for a fact that some of you like to push yourselves as intellectuals, but you see shit like this coming. This young man had groups. He had encouragement. He had people who knew the depths of the hate-filled heart he was holding on to. And I say heart, but it's all mind. I hate blaming the heart for something that your mind definitely is in control of. He allowed that seed of hate to fester in his brain, and it allowed him to make the ultimate decision to take lives. And now he will never see the light of day again. It wasn't worth it. There was a paper trail. Exactly. He was in touch with retired. And that's what troubled me about this whole situation, Respect, was there were enough people that could have turned him in, whether it was family, whether it was that retired FBI agent. That's why I said it's deeper than just rallying against CRT at this point. It is the acceptance of this hatred. Oh, this is my beliefs. This is my ideology. Your ideology is a poison, and you know it. That's why some of you try to skirt the line and act like, well, I'm not racist. I just don't want to feel bad for stuff that I didn't do. It was my ancestors. And I keep driving home that the point isn't for you to feel bad about CRT. It is about you viewing the treating and mishumanization of fellow human beings as a negative and not indulging in that. It isn't about your whiteness being under attack, but it is funny, the Freudian slip of you feeling that any talk of critical race theory, of any critical bias training, is an attack on your whiteness. Some of you give away the plot without even realizing that. But what do you expect the people who have been coddled all their fucking lives and hate to be taught that you're being coddled all your life? And when we don't confront this, stuff like this keeps happening. When we don't point out the biases, the negativity, the constant driving home that it is not okay to have acceptable forms of bigotry is the only way we are going to fight this. And too many of you don't want to fight this. Too many of you are comfortable and apathetic at worst, but comfortable in thinking, well, it's not me. I'm not actually indulging in it. I might not argue with somebody like this young man who wasted his life and espoused hate online. I'm an all lives matter edgelord. And it's just frustrating to me at this point. Because you know what you're doing isn't right. I know you do. You just don't care. Because it isn't directly impacting you. Because you think that hate gives you power. Because you want to be the next one of these fuckers. And I want you to look at the teary eyes in his face. I want you to realize that is the face you will make. Because you will end up in that orange jumpsuit. You will end up in jail for the rest of your days. If this is what you think hate is going to lead you to. There is not going to be no glorious war. I know you like to mock Muslims that believed in that. What is the difference between a Muslim man who tries to go out a jihad for something and these fuckers who think, I'm going to start the next race war? He's no different than Dylan Roof, who's literally getting the death penalty for his trouble. You keep trying and failing because hate has no place in our society. It is an ancient way of thinking by people who are too ignorant to not realize that humanity doesn't need this to hold us back. Society is moving on without your ancient way of thinking, and all you can do is act out in violence. And when enough of us get together and start really saying enough's enough, start limiting your access to arming up, because this fucker not only was able to legally purchase the weapons, but he was able to illegally modify said weapons, and nobody bats an eye at it. And this is on us yet again to start getting people in who will pass laws making it harder. Not only that, but he literally Twitch streamed this. So now everybody wants to weigh in on, oh, well, we need to blame social media for allowing this culture of that. No, stop it. I am so sick of the scapegoat mentality that some people have for social media and YouTube. And I know there's a huge lawsuit coming up for Google as it is because they claim the algorithms is making people terrorists. If your kid's brain is malleable and you're not watching them, that's on you. If your brain is malleable and some video told you you need to be hateful and shoot people up, that is on you. I am so sick of human beings not taking responsibility for their actions and intent, and it's always somebody else's fault. And this fucker's face, I don't feel sympathy for him. Even as a mom who normally when I see a child, because to me he's a child, tearing up, all I feel is yet again another wasted being, another wasted soul. And I would trade him clearly to get those 10 souls that he took back. Because it's sickening. You've lived in an area with only people that look like you. Festering, hateful. They bully you. Nobody around you look like me. Yet you took the hate that you probably had for them and your socioeconomic issues, whatever that was. And you decided my problems have to be rooted in black people. And you went and you took elders' lives. Those people were just going shopping. One man was buying a birthday cake for his family. Workers just going in to do their job and have a decent day. And in the wake of a few minutes' time, this young man shattered a whole community. Now I know they will rebuild and be stronger because we have to. Resilience is baked into our DNA now. But it shouldn't have to be like this. And I am so sick and tired of seeing these stories over and over. And I didn't take any joy at that man that rushed him, but I can feel why he did it. I can feel the anger at seeing him sitting there sniveling while his I don't know if he was related to the lady, was explaining the light that this murderer snuffed out in her sister. These are people who have to pick up the pieces and buried their loved ones because this hateful little troll couldn't keep his violent thoughts to video games. Couldn't keep his violent thoughts to his own damn neighborhood. It was her son. Okay, I was wondering who it was. And I'm not shocked. I know myself and I know my family. If we had to be in a courtroom with a fucker who took the lives of one of our family members, I don't think I'd be able to control myself either. It is at that point, that boiling point that so many of us are feeling because we are sick and tired of burying our loved ones to hate. These people didn't do anything to this Gerhan kid. They didn't know you, man. We weren't the cause of your problems. But now you are going to be locked away for the rest of your life. And you can't make me make sense of this. I know societal privilege feels good to some people. Feeling like you're better than some people because that's how we've been structured since early on in human times. But we have to let that go because it is not sustainable. It's just not sustainable at this point. And we are watching over and over young minds broken by this hate. Young minds thrown away to it. Festering, garbage-filled bigotry is nothing but a toxin. And this poison not only takes a bunch of lives, but it ruins the lives of the person who thinks that they're wielding power with it. He is going to disappear and be nothing but another historical footnote. Another mass shooter in a decade full of them. And he's not even a real footnote. Because unlike Dylan Roof, who will probably more than likely die unless they decide to give him clemency at the end, which you never know with this country, the only ending is going to be a cold hard cell for the rest of this young man's life. I think he's like 20 years old. To me, that's like a fate worse than death. So I am glad that that is what he got. There's no chance he'll be out amongst society. There's no redeeming that level. You literally taped yourself murdering people because you thought it was going to make you famous. You thought you were going to inspire others. And the only thing this has inspired me to do is to speak up against the constant acceptable forms of bigotry. It has to stop being so acceptable. It's frustrating. Gendron is his name. I don't even really want to remember his name. I just want the elders who were lost back, and we can't have that. So I am hopeful that in the end, he never sees the light of day, and that he lives an extra long, self-filled life full of just misery. But we are going to get to my not-so-favorite topic, Tuckhead Carlson. And why am I bringing Tuckhead back up? I know I ranted about him a few Bonnet Chronicles ago, since he likes to think that M&Ms are fuckable. I can't stand Fox Propaganda Channel, but the Dominion lawsuit has really brought out bangers on what the executives and personalities really feel about MAGA and their MAGA-in-chief, Trump. These people are frauds and phonies, and I keep telling anybody who will listen that. But when you have a lawsuit really expose their text messaging, when you see that Tuckhead, who in one breath will cry about CRT and in one breath praise Trump, scream about how he's ruining them, how he's a demon, how we have to get on top of this before he destroys us because he's good at destroying things. How much more of these phonies do you have to intake before you realize that they are spoon-feeding you garbage? Tucker will look at the camera and convincingly tell white people, oh, they're trying to make you feel bad for being white. They're being too woke. MAGA this, MAGA that. I am pro making America great again. And he knew, especially during January 6th, sedition stuff, they were in panic mode because they knew some of this shit could be traced back to them. And those texts, that's why I love the Dominion lawsuit, shows that these people will talk out one side of their face and grin out the other. They're not pro-MAGA. They're not even pro-right-wing, half of them. They just know it's more lucrative to fleece the dummies by pressing fear and lies, including the big lie of voter fraud, which was not voter fraud. It was millions more of us saying we're tired of the fallout of 45 and we want to move on to actual competency, which we have in President Biden. But what troubles me, and I love that Portia pointed it out, is how easily these people lie, how easily they pretend like they're on one side when they knew the stuff they were spouting out to their followers and people that watch fraud news was fraudulent. It's troublesome. And that's another thing, respect. A lot of countries have outright banned. Am I back? I think I'm back. I feel like it is troublesome when you got stuff like Fox News, which, like I said before I got cut out, the channel of Roger Ailes. When you think about what we could have if we had media that actually cared about being balanced, you want to be pro-conservative, at least shine a light when they lie, which they've been doing over and over again. Let me find that article because it was very eye-opening. And I'll get to that rant in a bit too. Let me go down to my browsers. Make sure. Yep, this was the one. Because it was not surprising that yet another set of junior Republican Congress people are fibbing on their resumes. And I'm not even going to say fibbing on their resumes, outright lying about their professional resumes. Apparently, let's see, what is the name of this guy? A congressman in both Tennessee and another one in Florida. This Yahoo, who lied about being, well, no, that's Santos that lied about being descended from Holocaust. They all lie. But apparently Santos is the bar for the lying brigade. This guy from Tennessee, Representative Andy Ogles, I'm not even going to say his name right, I don't care. GOP from Tennessee. Allegedly, his history, his work history, his economics background, all lies. Another representative from, I believe, Miami or around that area in Florida as well. They are just banging out the frauds in the GOP. And of course, McCarthy isn't going to do shit about it because he had a very, skin of his teeth win. And I hate using that word win because it took him 14 times to do it, to get Speaker of the House. And he knows that if these three go, no longer the majority. So it doesn't matter how fraudulent they are, how much about themselves they try to hide, like that lady in Florida who literally privated a bunch of her stuff so people couldn't dig into her school background and stuff. These people are frauds. And it's bothering me that voter apathy, but the propaganda circus that helps allow these people to coast into positions that they don't deserve. And now they've got this bar of Santos who lies about everything, literally has allegedly committed fraudulent things against I think they're like people who do service dogs. He wrote bad checks to them and then lied and said that he lost his checkbook or it was stolen. Real estate fraud, probably identity theft. I'm telling you right now, if it doesn't come out that this man isn't really George Santos, I would be shocked. But apparently he is going to be the one that they hold all the rest of these liars to. And there's already 2 more joining the junior Congress people fraudulent squad. It is troublesome to me that the Republican Party isn't taking this seriously, but it's not surprising. They don't care. They just need yes people at this point. It doesn't even matter what they're saying yes to. It doesn't matter if there's pushback against it. All they want are dry bodies in the seat to push us towards that weird religious theocracy that we have been avoiding by protecting our democracy. And what is part of their agenda, you would ask? I'm glad you asked that because their biggest thing right now is to no, not the mass shooter. Come on. Give me this page. Let me make this one a little bigger. No, extra web stuff. Interact. Republicans want to restore dignity for millions on food stamps by cutting their benefits. Now, you know there ain't no shame in my game. When my kid turned 10 years old, he and I moved into our first place together by ourselves. And when I say it's a struggle to be a single mom, and this was even before I got my partner and I was living in NC, it is a struggle. But when your kid starts hitting them preteen and then teen hormones, just surviving and making sure that we both ate was important to me. So yeah, once I could qualify for any kind of assistance, I got on it. We got extra medical assistance in Medicaid, and I got food stamps for my son. No shame in my game. Unfortunately, because a lot of states here and in North Carolina have the same thing, because I refused to let his father be in on the things because of the abusive situation that I got out of, I can't qualify for it right now. I probably won't even try to apply for myself once my son is old enough either, because I don't see the point. But while he's living here, if I can get assistance in food, I'm going to get assistance in food because I am still a struggling writer right now. There is no shame in getting help when you're using it for your family and using it in the right ways. But if you listen to the Republicans, they're going to restore dignity by reducing benefits when they know that food prices are up. This is what I mean when I say they are trying to wage a hostage war on us. They knew the economy wasn't going to tank because we actually have a competent president and vice president. So how can they stick it to the American people and make them blame Biden? They reduce benefits. They make sure that their buddies in business keep the cost of stuff going up. And the moment people feel the crunch, who do they blame? They don't blame their local representative who might have fudged their history and probably shouldn't be a sitting congressperson. They won't blame their mayor that makes jokes when their town's water is dirty or their governor that ships out migrants. No, they will blame the president for what their state's not doing right. It is coordinated at this point. And if you are on EBT right now and you think, well, what can I do? I'm struggling. If you're poor and you've been poor for the longest time, don't even try to fake that front. Anybody who is getting assistance right now, unless you are new to the game, you should know how to strategically shop at this point. It is not this country's fault, and it's not anybody else's fault if you don't learn how to exist while being poor. It isn't an easy thing. There are times where I have to go without. There are times where I have to literally strategically shop. What are we running out of more? How do I buy enough of it so that we don't run out of it? Being smarter, buying bulk things like bulk rice. I have a huge ass bag of rice in my pantry that I bought last year. Still good. You seal that shit up and you can make a lot of meals out of it. Pasta is cheap. There's absolutely no reason why people who have financial burdens, because I know some people are like, oh, you're poor shaming. No, I'm poor. I'm trying to give you the real because too many of you are playing games. Y'all want to take your EBT to Whole Food or expensive things in front. Stop it. Shop smarter. Don't buy just processed bullshit. Use your freezer properly. Buy meats strategically. Buy frozen vegetables strategically. Plan. Because the GOP is trying very hard to starve us into submission. And it doesn't have to be that way. There are plenty of stores that also accept EBT, like Aldi's. Even Walmart is a better place to shop when you don't have a huge budget. Stop fronting because they are coming hard for the poor. They want us exhausted, they want us sick, and they want us dying. And I need you to push back, and I need you to be stronger than some of you are acting on this. Some of you really didn't have the benefit of a Depression era set of grandparents. Honestly, exactly, Beans. I don't know how many weeks I'll go sometimes, especially during the winter when it's already cold. I'm already tired. We just had a big ass excuse me, snow dump here as it is. There are plenty of times where I will pre-plan meals, freeze them up, put them in the deep freezer. I have 2 quiches sitting in my deep freezer for when I don't feel like cooking. There is so many things. Exactly. Soups, stews. Crock pots came cheap. Luckily for me, my mom, it was one of the few things she had pull out of here when she left. There are plenty of ways to survive this if you want to. But too many of you play games with your EBT money. Now, yeah, that extra 95, I was using it to stock up on water, stock up on juices and stuff. I played it smart for the last few months because I didn't know when it was going to stop. And now at the end of this month, there is no extra money on top of what you normally get. So you need to budget better. You need to shop smarter. And people really need to stop acting like this is an attack on American people. Because this doesn't restore dignity. Having your babies be hungry, having yourself be hungry, that's not dignified. But the Republicans sure as hell know how to spin, and sure as hell have a media that likes to spin it like that. It's garbage and it's bullshit. But another thing, because I wanted to bring this up last week, well, not even last week, Tuesday, when I talked about the Super Bowl, and I didn't get a chance to. And I read an article right before I started this Bonnet Chronicles that made the end part of my brain itch because they can't seem to do one without the other. And I'm going to get to the rant in a moment, but I definitely want to once again give the highest praise to Rihanna. I loved everything about that halftime show. It was the only thing I watched on Sunday. The fact that she did that amazing show while pregnant, showing not only black joy, black beauty, black talent, and just brought what was, to me, a very I'm not into football like that. I like soccer, I'm sorry. But she was a highlight of something that I normally don't pay attention to. So when I watched the media counter that with an article about how Chris Brown is now complaining about cancel culture and why white domestic violence victims aren't, well, not victims, abusers actually, aren't being canceled like he was, you're still allowed to give interviews. You were on fucking Ellen just recently, which I can't even. What? I didn't even know Ellen was still doing, like, maybe she's doing a web series. I thought she retired. Why is he still on TV and giving interviews? I'm sick of hearing it, and I'm the same, Beans. I was just about to say that. I'm so sick of hearing about cancel culture because it doesn't exist. You will still have your shitty friends. You will still have people that believe in you. You just won't be as mainstream because we know you're a piece of garbage now. And we know you're an abusive piece of garbage. And what bothers me is that when we are celebrating Riri and we're celebrating the joy that she's found, the fact that she and ASB Rocky are just doing a thing, being parents, about to bring another life in this world, has a beautiful son already, and is living her best life, here comes this disgusting part of her past that just can't let go and wants to whine about why me. You're not going to steal Rihanna's joy. But what I need our media to stop doing is trying to what about and thinking it's benign. If Chris Brown really was canceled, he wouldn't be allowed to even have articles like this. What bothers me is that we don't have a real cancel culture. We only have people that want to whine about cancel culture. We only have people that want to lament because they can't sell a bunch of albums to people who don't want to buy the music of abusers. But to act like this man doesn't have fans still, if he didn't have fans still, if he wasn't still marketable, we wouldn't even get to see articles like that. And it's just so insipid in the city is how they run shit like that after she did the thing for the Super Bowl. We shouldn't even be able to utter that man's name again. But whenever Rihanna comes up, whenever she triumphs, whenever she makes bank with her Fenty, whenever she drops a fire album, whenever she's just bringing joy and happiness to her life, they bring that troll from her past up. And it's tiring because it's microaggressions like this that women like me see all the time. And I hate not pointing it out, that I hate giving him any air. because he needs to just dry up. He needs to be thirsty for attention. This man had talent. I'm not going to take that away from him. Kiss Kiss was one of the songs that I played so much when I lived in the South. I watched him on stage during, I think it was a tribute to Motown. I thought he was going places. And then the constant issues he had with women kept coming up. And I was like, no, I can't get with that. And then those photos of Rihanna beat up. And it was just like, I'm reliving my own nightmare seeing this. So no, I cannot celebrate or amplify a man that decides that I can't control my anger and attitude issues. I'm going to put my hands on people. You want to lament your canceling instead of getting help for yourself. That's your problem. But what we need to stop doing is every time Rihanna gets a win, bringing up the horrible past mistakes of her life. I know she won't see it as a mistake because she keeps moving forward, but I acknowledge my own mistakes. I was with a man for 10 years who not only wore me down, both physically and mentally. He literally used my mental illness against me. So I know what that feels like. I know what it feels like to feel like nobody's going to believe you. It doesn't matter what your income level is. When you're famous, people are going to think, well, she's famous anyway. Who cares? But nobody should be in a relationship where they feel vulnerable and a punching bag. So if Chris Brown is canceled, which I would love for that to be true, but I know it's not, he brought it all on himself. And how dare anybody write an article helping him lament cancel culture? If anything, all he did was prove that we do need that, actually. There really should be more men on that list that you don't buy from. They can't make movies looking at you, Sean Penn. Because you seem to be throwing yourself in every little situation you can. I sometimes forget that you exist until you open your mouth and some article is written about you, running down to Mexico and hanging out with El Chapo, talking about maybe we should give Russia a better look-see. He's always on the wrong side of history. And what do you expect from a man who likes to connect his fists to his ex's faces? It is tiring that we do not have actual cancel culture, but these fuckers will whine over and over and over again. I'm being canceled. I'm still a multi-millionaire. I still espouse hate and anti-Semitism. Looking at you, ye. I still get to say awful things and people still adore me because I made bars one time or a few times. I know some of these guys made a few albums. I'll give them that much. But their fame shouldn't exclude them from being a decent person. In fact, it should set a higher bar. And for far too long, we have just let degenerates who happen to be talented into our homes and our lives and acting like we have like this weird symbiotic relationship with them when we don't. They don't care about us. We are just an ends to a means to them, and we need to be the means to their ends if they decide to be abusive, pedophiles, rapists. There's absolutely no reason to keep elevating garbage, trash human beings when we have excellence like Rihanna, when we have excellence like Beyonce, when we have excellence like so many other talented young women. Megan Thee Stallion, love her. There are so many talented women in music that don't get second chances. Some of y'all wanted to blame Megan for getting shot. Blame her for having to finally come forward and wrestling with the fact that calling the cops could have made the situation worse because that's living black in America. You have open hatred for us and we see it, we don't care. We're going to keep shining on. We are going to keep doing our thing, whether you like it or not. That is just the way we roll. And one of the things that I loved about the Super Bowl was not only was she unapologetically pregnant, but on pitch. Those dances were amazing. Because there ain't no way. When I was pregnant, which I'm about to come up to the final part of this, I had to do bed rest finally. Because A, the first pregnancy I ever had did not take. I found out because of my blood type and because of kiddo's sperm donor's blood type, there could have been a problem with the baby. I had an allergic reaction to the shot they had to give me for it. It was a rough time. So I can't even imagine doing a halftime show while pregnant. And tomorrow will mark the 18th anniversary of the best day of my life. And I say that not lightly because the night I found out I was pregnant with him opened my eyes to how selfish I was being with my mental health, how I had to get my stuff together and be a decent mom to him. And it's not a perfect job. I don't act like I'm a perfect person. Thank you, Beans. But I love that kid so much, and I would do anything to keep him here, keep him safe, watch him grow, protect that smile of his. And 18 years ago, when I found out that no, it's not a tumor, Tin. You've been overreacting. You need to get your shit together because you're going to be a mom. Life brought me one of the reasons why I fight so hard to be here. One of the reasons why I'm able to sing, dance, write, and just be here. And it just makes me smile to think that tomorrow he is going to hit that 18th birthday. I know a lot of people think, well, Tin, many parents have that milestone. Do they? There are plenty of parents right now in Michigan even burying their kids. Buried them last year to that Oxford shooting. So I don't take for granted getting my baby to this milestone. And it just hits me sometimes when I think about Elijah, when I think about Tatiana, when I think about so many others, just how lucky I am to have the ability to keep my son as safe as possible right now. But I know I'm not going to be able to do it forever. That's why I work hard to wake people up so we can make a better society, so that less parents are dealing with this stuff. Because it was like I said in that video, and I meant it. It doesn't go by a day that we aren't seeing black bodies pay the price of hate. How many more George Floyd's, Tyree Nichols, Tyree Kings? How many more Jordan Edwards, Tamir Rice's? How many more Trayvon Martins do we have to go through? How many more Briannas? Sandra's? I just want it to stop, because as much as I want to celebrate the joy of having my baby for 18 years, I also weigh with the pain of parents who don't get to say that anymore, and it has to stop. I want more parents to take advantage and take for granted that everything's going to be all right. And that's not just for our sons. So many people don't realize the attacks on women have gone up. The violence with not just gun violence, but sexual assaults, violent kidnappings, and just, we had an incident here where this guy traveled from Chicago, got mad at a 14-year-old girl that wouldn't sleep with him, and stabbed her. These waves of violent acts keep going up, and they have to stop. So I want you to start really thinking about ways that you can make a difference in your communities, make things better, and shine a light on ways of protecting ourselves and getting our young ones help when they need it, because there is definitely a mental health crisis in our country and beyond. And there is seemingly a lack of resources for it that I don't understand at this point. But we have to start doing more, because it matters. I want more families to have milestones like the one we're going to celebrate tomorrow. I want less families burying their little ones. I want less people feeling unsafe in their own homes. Because like you said, bringing up Breonna Taylor, she was a person that helped people. She, as an EMT, used her powers to help save lives. And she was laying in bed with her partner and lost her life to a no-knock raid. It has to stop. And thank you so much, Beans and Respect. I'm going to tell him happy birthday. He went and he did a shave with Greg, and we're going to do his hair tomorrow as well. He's all excited. We got him a bunch of stuff he wanted because I had to make a list. That's how we do things in my house. You tell me what you want, I'll try to get it best I can. His cake is made, it's sitting in the fridge. Pizza's going to be off the charts because I have the dough sitting for the last 2 days now. Everything's going to be handmade and fun, and it's going to be a small thing, but that's how we do stuff in our house. I'm just blessed, and I feel lucky that I was able to share milestones with him. And I feel like because of social media, I was able to share parts of him with y'all. He's not really that big on social media. He did make a Spoutable account. He's not going to be on it a lot just yet because he's not really that into it, but he is trying. I'm really looking forward to seeing how he grows and continues on. And I'm just thankful that I get to share this with y'all. And his first vote is coming. He is so excited about that, and I am excited to help him fill out his voter registration. There's just so much to look forward to with him, and I'm just grateful to that. But I'm going to get ready to wrap it up, y'all. Thank you so much for sitting in. Oh, one more announcement, because I put it on Spoutable, but I just want to remind people again. Let me get this up. We were added to Smashwords ebook week. It starts March 5th through March 9th. We will be 50% off on all the ebooks of Axiom. I'm not sure if they're going to apply it to the actual paperbacks. So I think it's only the ebook that's going to be half off. If you haven't gotten a copy, or if you have and you want to give it to somebody and help out a new sci-fi writer, you're more than likely to. I will be sharing the actual link once the sale actually starts, but I am excited. Between this, the book being put in that library app, it's circulating. We have a voice actor friend who is helping me get the audiobook finished. I can't wait to announce that too, because I really feel like the story is going to circulate even more. I'm just so happy to the people who have helped support my work. I don't feel hopeless anymore. There's just so many good things on the horizon. Between this, the webcomic, the novels that I'm working on, there's just so much good coming. And I want to thank you all for being a part of that. Beans, Buffet, thank you so much for popping in. I will tell them you said happy birthday too. But I'm going to get ready to wrap this up. I will be back on Tuesday with another one of these Bonnet Chronicles. Sunday we'll be doing some D&D, but that's just me playing with the guys. But I will definitely be back for another Bonnet Chronicles soon. Thank you all so much for tuning in. I was waiting for that. Y'all, you have a great weekend. Take it easy. I will definitely wish Kiddo a happy birthday from y'all. Love yous.